will be on the play as he has the higher seed. Vikram, a player I've seen the Seattle PTQ scene during my years there. He came up to me this week and told me, I live here now.
Played a great match against Todd Anderson day one.
He did. He's making the most of his stay here in Denver, making the top 8 of this Open Series event. Going to start things off with the Prairie Stream. Lossett with the Canopy Vista as our semifinals are underway. And now here's a Jace. Lossett going to be put to the test right away.
And Lossett's deck not great at removing Jace on the draw. Two complete disregard, Kolaghan's Command, one copy of Crackling Doom. This is a bit of a weakness for Joe's deck in these kind of matchups.
Kudva going to draw and discard here with Jace. Down goes Dragonlord Ojutai. Follow-up is the Seeker of the Way, along with the Prairie Stream, pass that turn back. Lossett going to sacrifice his Polluted Delta, going to fall down to 19. We'll see what land he wants to dial up. Seeker of the Way, a card we haven't seen much of over the past couple of months. A lot of players opting to go towards Soulfire Grandmaster instead. But we've got a Jeskai Black on one side of the bracket with Seeker of the Way, and we've got Kudva here with Seeker of the Way.
Seeker of the Way is still an acceptable 2-drop in terms of size. I mean, people are playing with Snapping Gnarlid right now, and Seeker is going to be about the same size a good percentage of the time. But it is a way to really improve your matchup against a Tarka Red. One of the better 2-drops you can play in that matchup.
Over to Lossett will go, an island in the draw step. Polluted Delta in hand as well. You also find a Windswept Heath there. He's going to sacrifice the Delta. I'll get a Swamp for a Crackling Doom. Oh, excuse me, Kolaghan's Command. Pardon me.
It's an important distinction.
They're very different. I was like, how is Jace dying? It's a Kolaghan's Command.
It's the one copy and very timely.
Yes. Also going to make Kudva discard a copy of Silk Wrap. There's a Sorin. Not quite Gideon. Trigger the Prowess. Kudva going to plus the Sorin. Come across here for a healthy amount of damage.
And in this kind of matchup, if Kudva is using the plus power on Sorin, to me it suggests he's trying to go all the way to the Emblem. And the Emblem is not easy for Joe's deck to beat. Yep. It doesn't have Planeswalkers that crank out creatures. It doesn't really make tokens.
Not hard to get to the Emblem. That's not an Emblem we see very often either.
A lot of the control decks in the format just have ways to work around this or overpower it. Lossett's kind of doesn't. It's unlikely that Kudva gets the ultimate here because there's a lot of ways for Lossett to get a little bit of damage on there or just remove it outright with Utter End. But it's something he has to at least answer.
It's a duress here from Kudva. That's how he's going to lead off his turn. See if Lossett will have a response or not. It's going to show off the grip. We'll take a look. An island, 2 Abzan Charms, a Languish, a Dispel, and a Prairie Stream.
Really hard to rationalize taking one of the card drawers because if Lossett just draws into another card drawer, you've done very little work. Might have to attack a specific text box here. Although the Abzan Charms give him the most looks at being able to answer the Sorin ultimate in time.
Well, Languish down. And Joe going to sacrifice this Windswept Heath. Going to go grab a... maybe. It's hard to fetch with this deck. Got to find a Plains. And now an Abzan Charm, given the Prowess trigger. And Kudva is going to go to a vampire now.
And while playing the land there, empties out the hand.
If you're Joe, you got to be feeling thrilled about this. Empty-handed opponent. Just a Sorin and a vampire. That's not too tough to beat.
Still vulnerable to Gideon off the top.
Yes.
Nicholas off the top is also problematic, but the board's pretty well managed right now.
Back over to Kudva will go. Sorin's going to go up. Here comes the vampire. Lossett going to use Crackling Doom. And redirect over to Sorin, so it's going to fall down to 2. Kudva will just pass the turn back. Joe will draw now. Sorin is just the kind of planeswalker in this matchup. I don't think it's one that Joe's particularly scared of.
It's very slow. It's nowhere near as fast as Gideon. It still is allowing Kudva to keep up in the game in terms of card count. I mean, he mulliganed on the play. He got hit with the Kolaghan's command that was just a clean 2-for-1, killing Jason, costing him to discard. And the Sorin's gotten a removal spell out of Joe's hand, still in play.
Cinderglade, the weapon of choice here for Joe off the Wooded Foothills.
It's definitely the worst of the 2 planeswalkers, which is why you see 4 Gideons and 1 Sorin in the list.
Yep.
But still, definitely worth the 4 mana Kudva put into it.
And there's Abzan Charm. 2 cards coming. Now we go back over to Kudva. Sorin just going to go up, pass the turn back. Nothing doing over here for Vikram.
Joe down to just Dispel and Bring to Light his spells in hand.
Yeah, not a lot going on in Joe's hand right now, so he's got to really make this Dispel count. Gonna play a Flooded Strand. Well, here we go. That's going to resolve. One of the cards in it for Kudva is a Silk Wrap. A horrible card in this matchup.
It's a good answer to Jace, but
That's about it.
can shut down some Dem Protector loops, but it's not a great removal spell.
And Joe thinking to go on the Nissa route. That'll trigger. Search for a basic forest. Now, of course, you are casting the Nissa.
And I like the way that Joe's done this with a Flooded Strand in play. This way, even if Kudva has a removal spell in response, he can simply sacrifice the Flooded Strand, go get the 7th land, and re-trigger. So some good protection here.
Joe going to pass the turn back. He's already played a land for the turn. Silk Wrap. Joe will fetch in response. And that's on the stack. And now here's Murderous Cut. And that means Dispel not going to work. No blue mana. Joe gets to search now, of course.
I'm trying to see if there's some different way for Joe to have worked his mana here, but there's not, because he only has the 1 blue source in play, which is the Prairie Stream. He needs that to cast Bring to Light in the first place.
Yep.
And then he needs to keep the Flooded Strand up. When you look at that, you just assume there was some other way for Joe to handle it, but the answer is actually no. There's no way for him to play around 2 removal spells.
And hey, it took Kudva 2 spells to get that Nissa off the table. So you're probably okay with the exchange from a numbers perspective. All that being said, Lossett's at 9. Lumbering Falls is fine, but he's not doing anything. There's Duress. Dispel down.
Kudva's got a shot.
He does. There's Seeker. plus beats.
What's so nice about this? Seeker, that Sorin, it allows the Seeker to trade back with the Lumbering Falls.
It has 3 power on defense. So Lissette's going to draw something relevant here. He's got a lot of lands in hand.
I mean, I guess Ancestral Recall counts.
Yeah, well, it's expensive.
It's just so much mana.
Yeah. I think it says it costs an 8 on the card. Pretty lucky to have cards in your graveyard. And Joe just has decided what he wants to delve away.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense that fetch lands alongside with dual lands that have basic land tags alongside delve cards. Some mixture of this stuff would end up becoming an influential part of Standard.
This is fine. Everything is fine. Three cards here for Joe.
Doesn't look like he got the goods, though.
No.
I think it was just a Jace and some lands.
See, and that's why Ancestral Recall sucks. Sometimes you just don't draw what you need, man.
You would have just been better off with, you know, I don't even know what. But.
Yeah. Jason pass. You know what? The nice thing about Jace, he'll get another shot at Ancestral. See, so there you go. Assuming he gets another turn. Think of that. Jace might be on blocking duty. Yeah. This is an attack for a leaf? Oh, well, Lumbering Falls can block. Okay.
Yeah. And Joe definitely wants to keep the Jace around.
Yeah, he does. They'll trade. 3 damage will come across. Lisette down to 3. Kudva up to plenty of life. Time to draw. Polluted Delta not with the doctor ordered. Complete discard will work just fine.
Good start. Gets the token off the table.
Jace is flipping. 5 counters. We'll see how Joe wants to use it.
Keep in mind, this is the last event for this playmat. So if you still have a voucher, come and turn it in right now.
I'm fine starting off the turn with just flashing back Ancestral.
Get 3 cards deeper.
Yeah, just see where that goes.
Well, it was so bad last time.
Right.
Might want to try something else. Good flashback Bring to Light. He's got 8 mana, so he's got enough mana to cast Bring to Light again if he wants to, along with Complete Disregard.
So what Bring to Light allows him to do, I guess, is he can get Slumgar's command.
Yep.
Get the Planeswalker and the token off the table.
Leave Complete Disregard in his hand.
Just fairly good answer to a number of things. The biggest concern I have if I'm in Lisette's spot is what happens if my opponent top decks exactly Gideon?
Yuck.
Do I leave myself with enough outs in that scenario?
He's going to go with Kolagon's command. Taking a different route entirely.
Well, Kolagon's command can allow him to kill the token and regrow Nissa, which is not shabby.
All right.
Flip, and you can make a token to threaten Sorin.
I think it was kill your token, make you discard.
Yeah.
Too many modes on these cards. Play a forest, pass the turn back. Make a vampire. Well, Kudva. Kudva's turn takes 5 seconds.
That's what happens when you have no cards in your hand. Turn's pretty easy.
Yeah. Jace's going to tick up. Slow that vampire down. There's a polluted Delta. That'll pass. Kudva going to plus this. Go at Jace. Going to try to knock it down to 2. Here's Complete Disregard. Not going to happen. Back over to the set we go.
Now,
draw.
Now Jace may do something along the lines of Kolagon's command, get back one of my creatures, kill your Sorin. Either one of the creatures I get back turns into a Planeswalker.
What's the problem with that? Seems like a sweet turn to me. These cards are all really powerful. What's unique to me is this build that Joe is playing is so much different than what Jerry played in Indianapolis.
Yeah, well, all these decks, you know, they kind of get to do roughly the same thing. It's just flavored to taste a little bit. Some of these cards are better against some of the cards than others, but once you have this 4-color mana base, you can cram in all the 2-for-1s you want. You can get the right removal that you want. And you can win the long game in a number of different ways.
Here's Bring the Light. What's it gonna be? Oh, Rhino is so boring. Boo. I'm boo. Boo.
Sure. All of this for that.
I'm booing him.
It's funny, too, because Siege Rhino strikes me as just the least powerful part of Joe's deck.
Yeah. Here's Jace.
Whenever he drew it against Todd, I was like, well, that's a missed draw.
Yeah.
It's just not even
that thing's just dead.
That's not even a thing.
Vikram gonna sacrifice Blue Dot to get himself a Sunken Hollow.
I imagine the Siege Rhino is an important part of winning the beatdown matchup. So I'm not saying it's without merit. Just in some of these grindier matchups, it's the least impressive card.
I'll boo that Siege Rhino. I don't care. Let's Bring the Light. You can find any card. Imagine it was 4/5. Should have taken a Value Town. Kudva will draw.
Kudva surveying the damage.
No more.
Good man.
Nope.
Good man.
Look at you.
Why bother? You know why? Why are you gonna bother playing that one out?
Pretty dead.
Just dead.
Joe Lossett gonna win game number 1 here over Vikram Kudva. 5-color Bring the Light up a game over Esper Tokens. As we take a look at the sideboards here for both players, we're going to start with Kudva and his 2 Search Righteousness, 2 Self-Inflicted Wound, 2 Infinite Obliteration, 2 Stratus Dancer, 2 Disdainful Stroke. 1 ofs here in Master of the Unseen, Ultimate Price, Dispel, Languish, and Planar Outburst.
So I think you'd be pretty confident that the Mastery of the Unseen is going to be coming in, as will the 2 copies of Disdainful Stroke. I think Stratus Dancer is good here. What's interesting is we watched Kudva play against Todd Anderson in the Swiss rounds, and Todd's deck, as you know, it's just Jace, Soulfire Grandmaster, Dragonmaster, Outcast, and Kudva was willing to bring in Infinite Obliteration in that matchup to try to go after the win conditions. Joe's deck, because he doesn't have Mastery of the Unseen, if anything, is more susceptible to Infinite Obliteration than Todd's was. And we saw Kudva go to that card in that matchup. So it would not surprise me if Kudva went to it again.
Other side of things here for Joe Lossett, 2 Infinite Obliterations of his own. And out of Fenza, the foremost, 2 Negates, 3 Painful Truths, 4 Search of Righteousness, and 3 Radiant Flames.
I like the copies of Negate, the Painful Truths, and the Radiant Flames. They're not the best answers to Planeswalkers, but both of Kudva's best Planeswalkers generate a lot of token creatures, so Radiant Flames can play catch up there. Negates and Painful Truths, to me, are no-brainers.
Well, those are the options there for both players. And Kudva will be on the play here for game number 2. We're going to talk regionals real quick. A very popular promotion that we do run on Pro Tour weekends, and as a result, we're able to continue to do that. Now Joe Lossett, a former regional champion, able to keep his name in the player championship race. And we got this sweet playmat along with some other details.
Exactly. This is the Ascent of Aya playmat. It will be given out to everyone, the first 200 people rather, who register for the regional champions over at go.stargames.com/regionals. Also, the first 200 people who register will receive a free foil token as well.
The token is for Ajani Goldmane. Of course, the token that makes is this creature's power and toughness are equal to your life total. Now, keep in mind, with the changes to the SCG Tour next year, not only do we have new branding for the Open Series, but we also have new ways to qualify for the Players' Championship. It's a lot harder now, less events to play in, less points that do have SCG points associated to them. So that'll happen for Opens, it'll happen for Classics on day 2 of Opens, and it'll happen at the Regional Championships. So if you're looking to qualify for the Players' Championship, just like Joe Lossett, Regionals is a tournament you do not want to miss.
Exactly. It's occurring Pro Tour weekend again, so if you're not qualified for the Pro Tour, head over to go.stargames.com/regionals. Find the Regional Championship closest to you.
Patrick, big news today. People tweeting at me here. The Philadelphia Eagles apparently beat the New England Patriots, and most know that you are a big fan of the city of Philadelphia. So do you want to congratulate them on their big victory?
I love your sports teams. I love the rational way that you approach sports. I really like the winning tradition of the teams in your city. And I congratulate you on a well-fought win.
There you go. I had a feeling you'd be happy for them.
Only one of those was a lie. And my dislike for the Patriots trumps my dislike for the Eagles. So,
Oh, really?
yeah. And I just cannot stand the idea of having to watch a Giants playoff game this year. So if the Eagles take the division at this point, that's fine. I never thought I would say this, but I cannot watch this team any further. And the division's so bad that, all right, 7-9, I guess we're hosting a playoff game.
With how things are going for the city of Philadelphia with basketball and football and baseball and hockey, this win was needed. So congratulations to them. Big win. The Philadelphia faithful, we just want you guys to know when we're thinking of you here in the booth, here in Denver.
A lot of well wishes sent your way from me.
Absolutely. These players will sideboard here for game number 2. And we do have an update for you guys on our backup match. We'll certainly let you know as we have Zach Mendelblatt playing Jeskai Black, going against Lee Marino playing Atarka Red. Surprised not to hear anything about an update there yet. Well, never mind. Lee Marino won game 1.
Okay.
Atarka Red beatdowns. Found some room for some McKindy slide runners this weekend. A little bit of a change, but a trample threat with landfall. Not bad.
Yes, it looks like it basically came at the expense of some of the removal and Hordeling Outburst.
Okay.
So a lower curve in this deck. Much more focused on the combo.
Oh, this is neat. This is neat. Breaking news with Magic Online. Theodore Ashton III goes by Tommy Ashton. Won another Magic Online PTQ.
What's that, number 9?
9 or 10, second in the past month. Magic is hard for Tommy. Congratulations.
He's got to be the history's most dominant Magic Online PTQ player.
For a while, it was like Ricky Sitter and Michael Hetrick.
Yes.
They have been surpassed.
Yeah.
They've been surpassed. Some great California players in Sitter and Hetrick. We miss seeing them on the Open Series and in Magic in general, but this is getting ridiculous now. He might be Magic Online's most dominant player.
Well, certainly when it comes to the PTQs. And
yes.
Winning PTQs, period, very challenging to do because they're one slotters and 100 and some odd people, 200 people show up. Given the quality of competition in the Magic Online PTQs, it makes it that much more impressive.
Just a lot of Magic taking place this weekend. For Joe Lossett, obviously a huge weekend for him. Number 5 on our season 4 leaderboard. And with a win here, that'll give him at least 20 Open Series points. That's the min. And I think that's going to lock it up.
Should be. Should be comfortable. Still would have to sweat it out a little bit if anyone else in competition here made it through their quarterfinal match. But Joe handled business against Todd, Tom Ross, Logan Mize. They didn't win. So very comfortable position now for Lossett.
For Kudva, it's been a pretty good run as well. He's been near the top of the standings all weekend long. So it doesn't have the Players' Championship implications that Lossett's run does have. But for Vikram, he beat Todd Anderson in one of our most entertaining matches on the weekend. And now he's in the top 4 with a deck that we haven't really seen much this weekend outside of him playing it.
And it's an odd take on Esper tokens, too. When you think of that deck, you think of on end of your turn, secure the waste into Gideon. That's the play that deck is trying to set up. And Kudva with no copies of Secure the Waste into 75. More of just a control deck that happens to have a lot of token generation as a way to beat removal spells.
We're underway here in game number 2. It's Prairie Stream. Better put that land in the back. I saw him trying to put it up front. Don't even think about it.
There's no creature out yet.
Yeah.
You can't call him out until there's a creature.
He moved it back. There's a Jace.
So far it's clean. Kept it clean.
Joe with a polluted Delta and a Jace of his own. Dueling Jaces here. See what land Joe wants to search up. Gonna go with the Swamp. Monastery Mentor the draw. Kudva going to draw and discard here with Jace. I think he may have found a Silk Wrap. Treasure Cruise down. I was curious how many Silk Wraps he might leave in.
I wouldn't cut them all.
Yeah, I don't think you can cut them all. There's a Duress. Going to take one to cast it. The hand here for Joe's got quite a few lands. Is that?
Lands
okay.
and Siege.
Okay, 5 of them. And a Siege Rhino. The whiff.
Bad news for Kudva, Widget on the Duress. Good news, hands a little rough.
No. And now Silk Wrap. Down goes Jace. Yeah, that's going to stay. There you go. What if Foothills pass the turn? Back over to Kudva we go. Joe Lossett does not have much going on, and a Gideon was the draw. Unfortunately for Vikram, looks like the next land's going to enter the battlefield tap, but Monastery Mentor is a fine consolation prize.
And as far as Kudva knows, Lossett can't kill it.
Yeah. Also, for what it's worth, you might be questioning, okay, why doesn't Vikram just activate Merfolk Looter there, try to draw a 4th land that enters the battlefield on tap? His hand could just be the nuts.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to loot. He doesn't want to lose any of the cards.
Well, I think he's still better served looting regardless because it just puts a card in your graveyard, you have delve stuff. If you could ever mill yourself for one, you would just do it in the dark. He may just be waiting for more information. Depending on whether or not his Monastery Mentor survives, maybe that affects whether or not Kudva wants to keep a spell to trigger prowess, and if it dies, maybe he wants to keep a creature instead. But even if his hand's perfect, you still want to loot because you got delve cards in your deck.
We're heading Joe Lossett's way. Abzan Charm the draw. He's got the necessary mana to cast it. And Delta in hand. Very fetch land heavy hand here for Joe. I'm curious to see how he wants to use Abzan Charm.
I mean, he can just cast the Rhino here, or he can pass back to Kudva, hope that he cooperates, cast a spell, and then he can use the Abzan Charm to get the Mentor off the table.
Could save it to exile Gideon, too.
Yeah.
If that ever comes up. So there's a couple different routes to go with the Abzan Charm. Not as simple as just paying 2 life to draw 2 cards. Joe going to search for a basic island. Black, green from the Lumbering Falls, white from the Canopy Vista. Island is colorless mana. That's a Siege Rhino. Gain some of that life back from those fetch lands. And now Kudva will activate Jace. Caves of Koilos the draw. And this is a bit of the issue, I think. He's got to lose the caves now, and that was land number 5 for Dragonlord Ojutai.
Yep.
So his hand right now is Dragonlord Ojutai. He just drew a Sorin and a Gideon. So we'll see how he wants to sequence these spells. Gonna start with Gideon. That'll trigger prowess on Monastery Mentor. It'll also make a monk token. And then we might have a Knight Ally join the battlefield as well. No good attack speed. I can't get through the Rhino. So now we just go back to Joe.
Interested to see how Kudva blocks here in the event that Lossett sends in the Siege Rhino.
Looks like Lossett drew another copy of Siege Rhino. Yeah, attack here from Joe makes blocking very tough.
I think Kudva is likely to just put either a token or a monk in front just to keep Gideon above. He doesn't want Gideon to die, but he also doesn't want to try to make a really risky block.
Well, there's a double block.
So this covers Kudva against Abzan Charm. If he's worried about the Rhino pumping through and killing the Gideon. This feels like a lot of chumping to do to keep a Gideon in play, but it makes sure that the Gideon does stay in play.
If you're valuing Gideon very highly, it's a great block.
Yes.
And it feels like that's what Kudva's doing here. Now here's another Siege Rhino, which might make life a little bit tough here for Vikram. Here's a Jace activation. Might be time to let Dragonlord Ojutai go. Looks like maybe a little miscommunication. We'll get clarification on exactly what the question is here, assuming that there is one. Yeah, I guess we're going to come back to the booth. We'll figure out exactly what's going on. It looked pretty straightforward. Not quite sure what happened there. So, back in the booth regardless.
Maybe a mana mistap on the Rhino?
Potentially, I guess. Not quite sure. I mean, easy to fix.
I mean, Kudva looked like he was starting to untap and then go back and use the Jace, but it didn't really look like anything happened there.
Yeah.
Find out in a moment.
We will do that. As far as the other match is concerned, Zach Mendelblatt, he is playing Jeskai Black. Lee Marino playing Atarka Red. Lee Marino up a game there pretty quickly. A little bit surprising, at least for me, to see him up a game, especially with the configuration of Mendelblatt's Jeskai Black deck with Seeker of the Way, Mantis Rider, a lot of early interaction, even as Monster and Mentor in his deck.
Yeah, and the player, I believe, on the draw or on the play?
Mendelblatt was the 8, Lee Marino was the 5, so Atarka Red on the play game 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that helps a lot. And I feel like game 1, Atarka Red almost has no bad matchups. I mean, certainly you would prefer not to be playing against a Mantis Rider, bunch of shocks, Seeker of the Way style deck, but your best draws on the play overwhelm people pretty easily. And often these decks, even if they have the right cards against you, there's some hiccups with the mana early on in the game.
Yeah, you know, I think that might be part of the way that game 1 did go. I mean, this deck in Jeskai Black, of course it has really good mana, but it can hiccup a little bit. It looks like it may have just been a mistapping of mana, but it looks like we're all good to go. Kudva did discard Duress to his Jace, so 4 cards in the graveyard now. It looks like we're about to make it a 5th one, as he's going to draw and discard yet again. Yep, they just rewound, fix the mana, move along. No big deal. Here's a Duress. Lossett going to lose an Abzan Charm, a card that Kudva did play around last turn, appropriately. The lands here for Joe Prairie Stream, Wooded Foothills, and a Forest, as Kudva will record that information.
And now, I think Joe's saying you did miss your Monster and Mentor trigger.
And that is true. I don't think he'll miss this one.
Yeah.
So we're going to get a lot of tokens, a lot of Planeswalkers here. Knight Ally. We'll see how Sorin wants to be used. Gonna plus. This is a 5 power Monastery Mentor. Base 2 power, Sorin was cast, Duress was cast, and then Sorin plussed. So there you go. And life will be gained by Kudva as well. However, with all the creatures he had on the board, doesn't play defense particularly well.
Yeah, I mean, Kudva at this point can't really hold on to the Planeswalkers. If Lossett wants to take them off the table, Kudva's either got to chump block with a bunch of stuff or just let it happen. But he does have a pretty sizable board left over for his troubles. He knows Lossett's on nothing but lands, and if this game turns into a damage race, Kudva's pretty well positioned.
Lossett some things to think. Lossett with some things to think over. Got that Lumbering Falls out there.
Yeah, it's tough because, you know, Kudva's squeezing him in the spot where if Lossett attacks to try to get down to the Planeswalkers, that's not great. And holding back on defense is also not great.
Yep.
Because Kudva's stuff generates value every single turn.
Looks like the Rhinos are coming across. The question, and it's a real hard one to answer, is where? Lumbering Falls 2. Lumbering Falls going to go to Jace. Rhinos, well, we'll find out in a minute. Looks like Rhinos are going to go towards Gideon. Again, we'll get confirmation on this. Rhinos, Gideon, Lumbering Falls, Jace. Sorin being left alone. Gideon down. Lumbering Falls will trade with the Knight Ally. It's got an extra point of power given Sorin. Land here for Joe as a Prairie Stream. Kudva going to quickly untap, take his turn. Looks like Dragonlord Ochitai was the draw. Plus the slowdown of Rhino, and now here is Dragonlord Ochitai. Sorin going to go up, and you mentioned during game 1 that the Sorin emblem might be something that Kudva has interest in.
Yes.
I think this game.
Definitely. Lossett's deck doesn't play that well through this. He doesn't have token generation. It's kind of hard for him to amass a board. He doesn't have alternate ways of winning the game. And I think Kudva's kind of just taking the stance of, well, I'll just turn this game into a damage race where Lossett is tied up doing other things.
Now, one of those Siege Rhinos has 2 power, the other has 4. Jace the draw step here for Lossett. Keep in mind that Dragonlord Ochitai on defense is a 6/4 life linker. And it looks like Lossett might be going after Jace here. All right, there's a block. Kudva wants to protect the Jace. Lossett gonna play a Jace of his own. I think Kudva's doing well this game. It's a weird game.
Yes. Something that I've noticed from Kudva, both in this match and the match that we had against Todd earlier in day 1, is he's definitely willing to make unorthodox plays to try to get the game to a certain state. You know, the way that he double chumped there to protect the Gideon one turn looked a little odd to me. But he definitely is prioritizing particular lines of play. And I think here he was just trying to make Lossett spin his tires long enough for Kudva to be able to do something awesome with one of the Planeswalkers because he had so many in play. And now he's gotten to the Sorin emblem, and I think Joe is going to be hard-pressed to work through this.
And on the upkeep, Joe's got to sacrifice a creature. And he's got to do that every turn, so Rhino down. Jace will be flipping to a Planeswalker, but that'll just give free reign for Kudva to attack with whatever he wants. So I don't love Joe's positioning here. And his hand is all lands, it appears.
I mean, the best case scenario for Lossett at this point is getting access to his Languish, but then it's empty board against empty board, except someone has a Jace and a Sorin emblem.
Mm-hmm. Lossett going to sacrifice Wooded Foothills because he want to get a land out of his deck before activating the loot.
I mean, I'm looking here, and other than generating so much card advantage that he can overwhelm the emblem, or I suppose going ultimate with either Jace or Nissa, there's not a great workaround here.
Gonna activate Jace, will Joe. There's a forest. I was gonna ask if Joe even has a spell to flash back, but he has Knobs on Charm, which is fine. The Telepath Unbound has arrived. 5 counters to start. I think it might be time just to use that option charm to draw cards. Fall down to 10, but Joe's got nothing going on.
The only way that I see Joe getting to work his way out of this is just gassing back up.
I don't really know what else he can do. And that's the only spell he has. I just don't think that plussing Jace does anything. So he's going to fall down to 10 to draw 2 cards. Nissa among the cards drawn. Yeah, I think Nissa was just going to be on chump blocking duty. Mm-hmm. I think. Yeah, there's no way for him to get out of that.
Yeah, his deck is just not, even under an optimistic set of circumstances, not well suited to beat a Sorin emblem.
Yeah.
And he had nowhere near the base of creatures or resources to even start to work through it. And Kudva had a huge advantage on the board. So that game's going to end sooner rather than later.
You saw Joe furrow his brow a little bit. That's just a weird game state I don't think he's been in all weekend because no one really plays this combination of cards.
And, you know, Lossett prioritized getting the Jace off the table. He prioritized getting the Gideon off the table. Soren may have been the real priority all along.
The emblem, I think now, once you see it in action, and maybe Joe realized that once he actually saw it in action, he has to have a very specific draw to be able to even consider overcoming that.
If you have something like Secure the Waste where you can dump a million things onto the table, or some trump like Ugin, you can talk about, all right, I can let that go and try to play through it. For all the card advantage that Joe's deck can generate, at the end of the day, he's winning with Siege Rhinos, Nissas, Den Protectors, Jaces, and maybe, you know, Kolaghan's Command and Crackling Doom's kind of looping. But he needs his creatures in play to be able to win the game ultimately. And because he has so few of them and he has no way of generating tokens, there's not a great path for him to beat that emblem.
Well, you see the options here for both players. They're going to go back to the drawing board. So in the meantime, we will discuss the StarCityGames.com newsletter. It is your source for Magic the Gathering news. Super easy to sign up for, StarCityGames.com/newsletter. And best of all, it's free.
A lot of information about the Open Series. You get the latest update about what happened in last week's event, plus a selected match of the week for you to view, exclusive deck lists and advice from many of Star City Games' most popular columnists, and an exclusive cardboard crack comic. Best of all, signing up right now is free over at StarCityGames.com/newsletter. We take a look at our other match. Of course, if we do have time to jump that way, we certainly will. Lee Marino still apparently up a game here against Zach Mendelblatt. That's a Tarker Red versus Jeskai Black. If we have any updates for that match, we'll let you guys know. But they are still in game number 2 right now. We do have a little news here from Chris Anderson, who's trying to keep his name in this race for the Players' Championship. He did top 8 the Modern Premier IQ, #1 overall seed. Hashtag Smolder from Boulder. Playing Burn.
He's playing Burn. He's playing Burn. That's just a good hashtag right there. I can get behind that. We're underway here in game number 3 between Lossett and Kudva. Kudva going to start for the Swamp and Duress, so we get an idea what Joe's working with right away here. Negate, Bring to Light, Treasure Cruise, a Jace, a Forest, and a Prairie Stream.
This is a great hand for Joe if the Jace sticks, and not much of anything if it dies. I would guess Kudva wants to take the Treasure Cruise out of the hand. We shall see in a moment.
Yep.
I know it's a long ways away, but these games have a habit of going on for a while.
There's nothing short about these games. That's for darn sure. Gonna go with Negate. Okay.
Okay.
Lossett, Jace, pass it over. See if Kudva has a Silk Wrap here. Gonna play an island. Jace of his own. Pass it back over to Lossett. Lossett will draw, picked up a Plains. Obzon charm the draw. That's what Joe wants to discard here. There goes there goes Canopy Vista. Here's a Plains. Prairie Stream still in hand. Kudva will draw, activate Jace. Treasure Cruise. Shambling Vent down, gonna sacrifice this Flooded Strand, search for Prairie Stream. 4 cards in the graveyard already. Keeping track for cards like Murder's Cut and Treasure Cruise.
And Jace.
Yeah, can't forget about that one either.
And Jace.
Yeah, and my first time, sorry.
And this thing?
Yeah, this Magic card. Hello, Tarka Red Man.
All right.
Lee Marino overcoming. I didn't think he was going to win that match.
Did not think so either.
Jeez. Just Sky Black down. Lee Marino, number 5 overall. So he took out Tom Ross, just took out Zach Mendelback. Going to be playing the winner of this match.
And on the play regardless.
Very true. Kudva with a Monastery Mentor before passing the turn back over to Lossett. Joe going to sacrifice Flooded Strand. That's card number 4 in the graveyard for Jace.
For Jace.
For Jace.
Invitational qualifier honored players. I have your top 8 standings after an 8 rounds of split. In 8th place, I have Alex.
And now activating Jace.
In 7th place, Christopher Neiman. 6th place,
Let's see what Joe wants to discard.
Blake Donnan.
Down goes Flooded Strand. Time to flip
5th
Jace.
place, Nicholas Kyle. 4th place,
5 counters, maybe going up to 6.
3rd place, Michael Donahue.
Going to slow down the
First place,
Monastery Mentor.
Gregory Gill, or 2nd place. And in 1st place, Chris Anderson.
And now, a Treasure Cruise.
If you are in the top 8,
I think he might leave Obzon Charm behind.
you do not have your decks. Sort
That's
them
Maybe negate.
over to the stage.
Obzon Charm's the best one with Jace, but a little anemic. Negate is the better one with Den Protector. So I think at this point he'd rather just make his Den Protectors a little bit better.
By the stage. So that correction.
Back over to Vikram, we're going to go. Going to activate Jace. 4 cards in the graveyard. So, you
Now
know.
5,
So, you know, that whole thing.
and then it flips.
Uh-huh.
And then he can flash back Duress and get a Prowess trigger.
That'll make a Monk. We're on it.
Yeah, we're on it.
Now, he did board an Infinite Obliteration. He's got one in his hand.
Doesn't surprise me based on what we saw in the Swiss rounds against Todd Anderson. Some people have Infinite Obliteration basically just for Eldrazi matchups. Kudva is pretty comfortable just bringing it in against threat-light decks.
I hope he doesn't miss his Monk trigger. That's all I'm going to say. We've seen him miss one already this match. It's pretty important right now for what he's trying to set up. Obzon Charm, Bring to Light, a bunch of lands here. Languish 2.
A little unfortunate for Lossett to be caught with the Languish in his hand.
Well, he does have a Jace to flash it back.
Yes, and he also has 2 in the list. I assumed it was a 1-up bullet for
Okay.
Bring to Light. He's got 2.
There goes Bring to Light.
And at this point, I think we can safely say the trigger is
You
missed.
think it's gone? Yeah.
And given how far ahead Lossett already is in terms of just card count, Kudva's going to need every piece of the puzzle. I mean, it doesn't seem like that 1/1's worth a whole lot, but every card and everything that resembles a card is going to be really important.
All right. Honored Fair IQ players. Sounds like those standings are good and final.
We'll see what's next here for Vikram.
So, if you have your tax information on file, or if you wish to receive stored credits,
Treasure Cruise. Trigger.
the lineup here are Sean.
Got the Monk.
Please have.
It's been a long day.
It has been.
Nobody's perfect. For what it's worth, this match is almost going an hour.
If you still require tax information with us, in order to get.
You just hope, if you're rooting for Vikram, you're hoping it doesn't come back to hurt him.
Another 2 stations.
And Jace is going to fall down to 4, as Monastery Mentor is a 4-power creature.
That is.
It's a very good opening now for Languish, though.
Not bad.
I mean, in terms of raw card count, I guess it's not the end of the world for Kudva. He's really just down his mentor.
Yeah.
one cash prize. You need a tax form. You need to be either here with Emily or with Patrick, whichever line is shorter.
Oh, the other option right now is Minds and Jace flashing black, bring to light. If he has access to domain mana, he can get Slumgar's command, kill the Jace, take care of the Mentor, leave the Languish back.
Well, with the Smoldering Marsh, he does have access to that play. I think he might take the more simple route with Languish. I do like the idea of flashback, bring to light, but there's also just a lot of versatility there with what you can do.
Yes. Doesn't have to rush the gun on it. Just if you want to keep the board clear, it's a pretty easy route. I guess the problem with that play is that you're still leaving the prowess token in play. Very easy for that to finish off the Jace, and then you're just dealing with the cards in your hand.
Duress going to get fired off. Abzan Charm down. It's a Jace, a Wooded Foothills, a Prairie Stream, and a Cinderglade. Well, what's next here? Sorin. It's this weird planeswalker slash token approach that we saw Kudva be very successful with last game.
What's really odd about all of this is you see the Sorin, you see the Infinite Obliteration. Kudva might be able to take a route of, I'm going to prevent you from literally being able to win the game. Like, I kind of concede the card advantage battle. You're going to draw more cards than me, but I might be able to engineer the game in such a way that you just run out of ways to win.
Yeah.
It's a very odd approach. But if you're already conceding the card advantage front, it's the best way to take Joe's legs out from under him. Draw all the cards you want. Doesn't matter if you actually can't win.
Here's Bring to Light.
The Sorin emblem is part of that. The Infinite Obliteration is part of that.
I think Joe might be thinking Salumgar's command.
Well, he's really got nothing going on except this Jace, and that's the best way to protect it.
Yep. And destroy a target planeswalker. Kill something. So kill that, kill Sorin. Both players with an active Jace right now. Kudva will draw. And he has a Dragonlord Ojutai. The question is he willing to cast it?
I don't know, the coast looks pretty clear.
I think it's pretty clear. Can't flashback Languish. All right. Over to Joe. Siege Rhino. Not all that impressive right now.
Yeah, to repeat, it's odd to say, but it seems like the worst card in Joe's deck. In all the mid-range matchups, at least. I'm sure against a target red, it's very important that he has it.
I think that might mean he's got a pretty good deck then.
Well, he's not struggling for card quality.
Here's Jace. Telepath Unbound's going to move up, and I think Joe has a copy of Utter End in hand.
Well, Kudva could still just flash back the Duress right now if he's willing to give up the Jace.
Okay.
And I kind of want to see what's going on.
Just want to know.
I want to scope out the goods.
So does Vikram. Bye-bye.
And Kudva can even use the Dragonlord Ojutai to finish off Jace if he's got a removal spell for Telepath Outbound. And then it's Siege Rhino and Air against a handful of cards and Dragonlord Ojutai.
He's got Silk Wrap in hand.
Yeah, this is a really good setup.
What's this? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This.
Oh, yeah.
I think Rhino's down.
This is not quite Submerge Predict,
Yeah.
but I'll take it.
Okay, so Rhino's down. Joe's left with a Wooded Foothills.
And if his follow-up is Silk Wrap, then the board's clean. There's nothing going on now.
Yep. That means Joe Lossette's got to draw a heck of a card, or we'll see what we typically see from Esper Dragons on Esper Tokens, which is Dragonlord Ojutai running away with the game.
I don't know how many relevant draws Joe really has left.
How's Treasure Cruise?
Well, we'll find out because he gets 3 more of them.
Yeah. Joe going to sacrifice a Wooded Foothills here.
Right when you think you finally, I mean, we've seen this all weekend long.
We really have.
With Joe and Todd, when you finally think, you've slogged through a million, draw 2s and draw 3s, and Jace is flashing back, and finally think they're out. Every single time this weekend, it's been a treasure cruise waiting.
Time to gear up. Joe wanted to decide how much he wants to pay for it. Now there's Cruz. Now it's just time to decide how much to delve, what to leave in the graveyard, what mana to tap.
Yeah, he wants to leave some mana left over so he can draw some cards and cast some stuff. He also wants to leave relevant cards in the graveyard to flash back for various cards and get back with Den Protector. So it's just finding the way to split the difference. I don't know if there's a way for Lossett to draw Den Protector and do something this turn. So this still allows him to draw to Bring to Light or any removal spell to get Dragonlord Ojutai off the table.
Didn't get a great look.
Well, we're going to find out right now.
Jace. Kolaghan's Command on a land.
But Jace at least threatens to flash back the language.
Here come the beatdowns. Trigger. Take a look. Murderous Cut. Duress. And Vikram going to take Murderous Cut very quickly.
No brainer. Get the Jace off the table.
There is Murderous Cut. Going to delve away a couple of cards here. The follow-up, I believe, is going to be a Gideon. Yeah, this is getting real tough. And the Salumgar's Command is gone.
There's still Den Protectors left.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily gone for good.
Going to get back Jace and kill the Knight Ally. Will Lossett. Obzon Charm the draw. All right, that's an answer to Dragonlord Ojutai for Joe. Here's Jace.
There's Dispel in Kudva's deck. This is a huge risk.
That seems pretty risky.
Unless he's trying to gas up for specific cards and he's willing to take another Ojutai hit.
Yep.
I suppose he feels like he can Kudva's likely to fire up the Gideon. He wants to exile that and then flashback Languish. I think that's the reason.
Okay. That's a morph,
If
which
that
means his only morph is Stratus Dancer.
Yes.
Which means Joe needs to move. Oh boy.
It's so interesting to watch all of this because when I saw the two decks on paper, I looked at Kudva's deck and said, same thing but worse, pretty much. And in the post-board games, he's really thrown some unorthodox lines of play at Joe, but he has been exposing some liabilities in Joe's deck. There have been some weaknesses here that have been on display.
Well, so that's down to 1, by the way. Kudva will pass. And Kudva within his lands even has a Shambling Vent.
Yep.
So even if Joe kills everything, Vikram can just activate Shambling Vent, assuming the mana cooperates, which I'm fairly sure it does, and kill him.
And Lossett cannot complain about the draws here in Game 3. He had a lot of good ones when it was looking like he was up against it.
Delta down. Jace will flip. Languish. That'll take care of the creatures. But you can see here with a morph that Joe is hoping that Vikram doesn't see the Shambling Vent activation. Unfortunately, he sees the Shambling Vent activation. And that is going to do it. Vikram Kudva is going to win this match here over Joe Lossett, 2-1. Esper Tokens going to take down 5-color Bring to Light. For Lossett, solid weekend. It's 15 more Open Series points. But for Vikram, it's a trip to the finals.
Yeah, congratulations. And like I said, I did not think that Kudva could really hang around in the later games with Lossett. But the Planeswalkers were really problematic for Joe. Dragonlord Ojutai created some problems. The fact that he couldn't respond to Jace quickly, given the way his deck is set up, that was problematic. Duress did a lot of work. It was definitely a 60-card effort from the Esper Tokens deck. It was a lot of little things going on there. Lossett got to play Magic in the post-board games. Not like his draws failed at any point, but Kudva was able to manage Joe's various resources, and the Planeswalkers especially, very problematic for Joe.
Well, that is going to do it here for our semifinals.